Teardown time. This is the Apple Airtag 2. Let's take it out of the box, disassemble it to the silicon level, and see what it's made of. So the Airtag looks very similar to its previous generation. Three major changes, I understand. A louder speaker, a change to the ultra-wideband chip for better performance, and a Bluetooth low-energy chip, I think, has been updated as well. Alright, let's start the teardown. The silver bit in the middle here is a permanent magnet, and then it's surrounded by this wire copper. That's the voice coil for the speaker. On the outer link, I believe this is the ultra-wideband antenna coming around here. What else can we see? We can see what looks like a couple of test points. This is probably something you can probe here. And then this collar provides some sort of mechanical fixturing, probably for the manufacturing. That's about all we can see here. Let's pry off this bit of plastic. It's been glued on with a transfer adhesive tape. Okay, two big semiconductors of great importance. This one here is the Nordic Semiconductor 52840. This is a Bluetooth chip plus an associated Cortex M4 processor. This is the brains of the operation. That provides the Bluetooth communication plus all the software. On this side here, this is the ultra-wideband chip. I think it's the ultra-wideband 2. It's not just a chip, it's actually a full assembly. There's substrate there and a lot of circuitry below it. This one here provides the precise positioning, and then the Bluetooth provides the sort of sensing at a distance. With the ultra-wideband, you can actually get it, so you can just sort of point your phone and it will tell you where it is quite close. What else can we see? There's going to be a power supply section up here giving all the indications. Power is going to be on this part of the assembly, and I believe the Nordic Semiconductor will have some associated memory. I'm not quite sure. We'll take this one off and take a peek at what that is. The other chip that caught my eye is on the back side here. Where are we? Here. I believe this is the accelerometer sitting here, a MEMS accelerometer. You can see a couple more timing devices sitting in the assembly here. So lots of cool chips. I think we're going to start this teardown with we'll take with the Nordic Semiconductor off first, take that in, and then we're going to take a look at the MEMS accelerometer. And then I might end the video there just because there's actually so much silicon sitting on this assembly. It's an incredibly packed device. Oh, I probably should mention this is almost certainly a Bluetooth antenna sort of wangling along here. All right, let's take some silicon off, de-encapsulate them, and take some look at the photomicrographs. All right, well, this is the heart of the Bluetooth interface on a Apple Airtag 2. This is the Nordic Semiconductor NRF 52840. It's a bit of an upgrade from the 52832, mostly in the Bluetooth section, the baseband, Cortex M4 processor, and associated peripherals. Don't seem too much updated. Let's see. This is, of course, the Bluetooth RF section here. We see the classic building blocks, as you'd expect. This is the voltage-controlled oscillator, which bumps up a crystal to the frequency of Bluetooth. That's so you can heterodyne it. Two mixers, one here, one here. One's RX, one's TX, and this is the balun, which allows the signal to be balanced onto the antenna. So all the classic building blocks. If we zoom into the middle here, you can see it's just an indistinct pattern. That's because the metallization's on top. All the digital logic sits here, the RAM, the ROM, and the Cortex M4, and a whole bunch of timers. There's actually a USB 2 interface on this chip. I don't think it's used here because there's no physical USB interface, but I would strongly suspect it's up here with the PHY. And there's a bit of die marking, TMJ013. Doesn't match anything. I think these are all made up by TSMC, though. A classic bit of design work here. This is a picture of the MEMS accelerometer. It looks very indistinct because it's actually two chunks of silicon topped on each other. We can scroll in, though, and see a very much expected vendor, Bosch. They do a lot of accelerometers. In fact, they even handily tell you that it's a 3-axis. It's a Z, an X, and a Y. And that, of course, gets bonded onto the circuit board. Can't find the part number. It's a little indistinct here. It says CMA 234 maybe, but not entirely sure. The proof mass, that's the thing, is in this section here. It's going to be an interdigitated MEMS structure. Basically, they have a comb-like structure, and when it vibrates, it actually causes the change in capacitance. Unfortunately, they're very difficult to analyze further. You have to cleave the silicon apart, and have had no luck with that so far, but here we see a classic accelerometer on the assembly. Okay, coming back to this chip here that was sitting next to the Nordic Semiconductor Bluetooth chip. I'd mentioned I thought it was probably a SPI memory chip. De-encapsulating it indeed shows that that's exactly what it is. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see some indistinct lines, perhaps. Those are the individual blocks. Now the memory array, you can tell, consumes almost all the die. I strongly suspect this might be a gate under array device. What happens is to program those flash memory cells. You need about 20 volts, but there's not enough die array here for that on the control side. I suspect there's actually control stuff sitting under the memory array. Which of course you do when you try to make things extremely small. If you look at some of my previous Teardowns, you see generally on a SPI chip, they're actually quite a bit bigger than this. So, but this is a very small device indeed, the AirTag, so no surprise that they had to go for some sophistication. Can't find the manufacturer. There is a die mark. It says Atlanta 64M, so 64 megabits, probably an 8 megabyte device. Not sure of the vendor, haven't seen this mark before. Okay, let's go on to the star of the show, the ultra-wideband chip from Apple. All right, here it is. This is the Apple ultra-wideband, I think it's called the U2 version of the chip. What are we looking at? We are looking at a lot of sophistication. Ultra-wideband's kind of neat. It actually uses something called time of flight to figure out triangulation, so which means it measures the difference of time of arrival of signals. There is so much going on here. This is worthy of its own teardown. You're seeing a lot of metal here, which is hiding some of the gates below. You can see like peeking through. This is like a bond pad, a BJ pad here. And then of course you can see peeking through just tons of stuff going on. The inductors are generally uncovered because the metal would affect their performance. Here you see a transformer. You know, there's two legs here, and you can see that they wind around. And there's two inductors here. Some form of, wow, it's repeated 3 times. I think the chip might work on multiple frequencies as well. Die marking that I think is more related to the die marking is more related to the fabricator TMQ. But I believe indeed this is a native Apple design. There's real depth now in Apple in terms of silicon design. And here we see it in spades. No, I think to use this chip, actually, your corresponding iPhone has to be a relatively modern version as well. This is squeaky new stuff sitting here. Here at the die mark, it was a bit indistinct there. TMQE08. All right. Wow. Okay. And that also on the U2 chip, there was an associated oscillator and another semiconductor, but this is really the heart of it. So the case is fairly well adhered, unlike the previous version. So if you're interested in disabling the speaker, looks like your best bet is to probably drill straight down into it and then into here. Doesn't look like it's very easy to unclip the case without sort of destructively removing it. Okay, one last thing to take a look at is the operation of the speaker. Let's first listen to the sound it makes, and then I just snap the case off, and I'll insert a video of the actual coil vibrating, because it was kind of interesting. This is the sound the AirTag 2 makes when you alert it. And here we can see the voice coil moving as it plays. It's not creating any sound, of course, because the case is used for the speaker, which creates the volume. I hope you enjoyed that. This was a look at the Apple AirTag 2 and all the silicon and engineering on it, obviously packed with it as you might expect. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I would certainly appreciate a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next one.